June 30th, 1908, 7:14 a.m. In a remote, uninhabited part of Siberia, a man was thrown from his chair on the front porch, his shirt nearly set on fire from the heat. Over 40 miles away, another man watched as the sky split in two, covered entirely by a terrifying fire. The shockwave would be recorded as circling the entire planet, twice. But for the few eyewitnesses, it was the end of the world. They described a pillar of blue light, a sun crashing to Earth, a sound that tore the heavens apart. When scientists finally reached the epicenter a decade later, they found a scene of apocalyptic devastation and a mystery that has defied explanation for over a century. Because at the heart of the blast zone, there was no crater. The thing that had flattened 800 square miles of forest with the force of a 15-megaton bomb had simply vanished. The first expedition, led by the determined mineralogist Leonid Kulik in 1927, expected to find a giant meteorite. What they found instead was a puzzle that broke all the rules. Clue number 1. The Ground Zero Anomaly. At the very center, Kulik found something bizarre. The trees were not just flattened, they were stripped of their branches and stood as charred, skeletal telegraph poles. And surrounding this central zone, a vast area of trees blown outward in a perfect radial pattern. But crucially, there was no impact crater. Whatever caused this, it hadn't hit the ground. Clue number 2. The energy release. Calculations showed the blast occurred in mid-air, about 5 to 10 kilometers above the surface. The energy released was 1,000 times greater than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Clue number 3. The strange effects. For nights after the event, skies across Europe and Asia glowed so brightly that people could read newspapers at midnight. Scientists now call this noctilucent clouds, suggesting vast amounts of ice particles were thrown into the upper atmosphere. So, what was it? The official textbook answer is a meteoroid, a rock perhaps 60 meters across, entering the atmosphere at 50 times the speed of sound. The pressure and heat caused it to explode in a massive airburst. Case closed. The evidence fits almost perfectly. But there are inconsistencies. Witnesses didn't just describe a fireball, they spoke of maneuvers, of the object changing course. They reported a series of explosions, not just one. And then, there are the things that don't fit a simple rock. The red herring, the alien spacecraft. This is the most popular alternative. A theorist suggests a nuclear-powered alien ship suffered a catastrophic failure, exploding high above Earth to prevent a ground impact. It explains the mid-air blast, the lack of a crater, and the radiation. But where is the debris? A ship that advanced would have left exotic materials. None have ever been conclusively found. The scientific anomaly, the comet hypothesis. Maybe it was a comet, a giant ball of ice and dust. This would explain the high-altitude burst and the glowing night skies, the ice dispersing. But a comet of that size would have been seen approaching for weeks, and ice fragments would have vaporized completely, leaving no trace, which feels too convenient. For decades, the debate has been locked in a stalemate, a rocky asteroid versus an icy comet. But what if both sides are missing the final, crucial piece of evidence? A clue so strange, it was literally hidden in the trees themselves. In the early 21st century, a team of Italian scientists decided to look not at the surface of Tunguska, but beneath it. They investigated a small, neglected lake nearby, Lake Checo. Its conical shape was suspicious. Their seismic scans suggested it could be an impact crater, but it was small, not nearly large enough to be the main event. Then they turned to the silent witnesses, the surviving trees. They took core samples from the peat bogs and the ancient, half-fallen trunks, analyzing the tree rings from the year of the blast, and they found something astonishing. Embedded in those 1908 tree rings were microscopic particles of rock and iron, not from a comet, which is mostly ice, not from a standard stony asteroid, which would have vaporized. This was material that had survived. When they analyzed these particles, they pointed to a specific and incredibly rare type of asteroid, an iron-rich, near-Earth object that had likely originated from the far inner solar system. But here's the twist that changes everything. The composition and the trajectory suggested this wasn't a lone wolf. It was likely a fragment, a piece of a much larger asteroid that had broken apart in space. This explains its strength, its density, and why it penetrated so deep into the atmosphere before detonating. The main body might have missed Earth entirely, while this one, city killer fragment, didn't. So, was it nature or aliens? The final clue points firmly to nature, but a nature far more bizarre and specific than we imagine.